Hello, everyone. This is EB the Original Master here with another discussion type video. And in this video, I would like to talk about some YouTuber podcast that I am investing to, that I'm either watching or listening to on YouTube. And I will talk about if they are either active or they are inactive. So, the first YouTube podcast I would like to talk about is the Goose Junkies podcast, hosted by Goosebumps Completionist. So, this is a YouTube podcast hosted by Goosebumps Completionist, where him and a bunch of panelists will talk about the Goosebumps franchise and other children's horror or adult horror like shows. And this podcast started, I want to say, back in 2023, I believe. Yeah, I want to say they started doing this podcast around 2023. And I kind of enjoy this podcast is because that even though I'm not really into the horror genre, I had been watching Goosebumps videos for a very long time on YouTube because I thought it was interesting hearing people talk about children's horror. So I've decided to invest uh, my time with horror YouTubers, even though I really don't read the Goosebumps books and all of that, but I do find watching these people talk about these things rather interesting. And this is a little this is a fun podcast because Goosebumps Completionist is a good channel, and the hosts or the panelists that are in the podcast are somewhat fun. And throughout the years or the months, that is, most of the panelists are no longer supporting or no longer involved with Goose Junkies, but a few others are. So that's what the Goosebumps Goose Junkies podcast is, and it is an active podcast, but usually new episodes comes out whenever they release one because some of the panelists do have lives, and so does Goosebumps Completionist. So you won't be seeing like episodes come out every single day or stuff like that. All right, so the next podcast I would like to talk about is the Becoming Brave podcast hosted by Mark Vins, who is a member of the Brave Wilderness channel. And I've been subscribed to Brave Wilderness ever since 2017. And I first heard about this channel from a Skippy62 Able video, aka the LA Beast. And that's I first heard about Brave Wilderness from that channel. And basically, what the podcast is about Mark Vins talking about some of his some of the videos that he made with his crew, and they will also talk about stuff that what makes them brave and whatnot, whether it's uh, like facing your fears about taking a sting or something like that, and they basically talk about the videos that they had made, and they will also sometimes talk about other events involving with animals and stuff like that. Um, this podcast is on. I want to say it's on a hiatus right now because they used to they used to release episodes um every Tuesday mornings, but these past few days I haven't uploaded a new Brave Becoming Brave podcast episode, so I'm pretty I'm sure they either on a I'm pretty I'm sure they might be on a hiatus right now, and they're probably just producing a normal Brave Wilderness like content. So we haven't had a new episode from them in a while, but yeah. So that's the Becoming Brave podcast. Um, another podcast that I am watching, that I am investing my time in, and that is the City of Soundsville podcast, hosted by Shadow Streak. And in this podcast, it is an audio slash video format podcast, but in the video version, we don't see we don't see the webcam of Shadow Streak and his co-host, because they just don't. I guess they just didn't want to reveal their face, but it is a podcast regarding to the Powerpuff Girls, especially, well, most specifically the original series, and so far they've only did seasons one, and they also talked about the Craig McCracken shorts that he made while he was in school, and that's really all they talked about. And currently, the podcast is inactive just because that we haven't got season two yet, and knowing Shadow Streak, his videos takes an extremely long time to come out, so I'm not entirely sure when season two will begin of this podcast, but I wish I kind of wish that he had a cohesive schedule with the City of Soundsville podcast, but unfortunately, he only said that he was only going to be doing the podcast whenever he has the time to do so. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. But yeah, so this podcast has been rather fun. Hearing Shadow Streak and his co-host talk about the Powerpuff Girls and all that, and yeah, so those are really so those are basically the three main podcast channels that I am aware of, that I am invested into, which are the Goose Junkies podcast, the City of Soundsville, and the Becoming Brave podcast from Mark Vins. All right, so those are just some of the YouTube podcasters that I watch slash listen onto YouTube. And yeah, so that's really all I have to say in this video. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Almost forgot. There's just one other YouTuber that I forgot to mention that I used to watch. Well, I'm not saying that I used to watch. I was watching it, but I then heard the news that they are no longer making this podcast, and that is the Full House Rewind podcast. I had almost forgot about this. So yeah, the Full House Rewind podcast was hosted by Dave Coulier, the actor who played Joey Gladstone in the original Full House and in Fuller House. He actually started a podcast back in 2023 where he would talk about Full House with the cast members and some of the crew members of the show. And I heard in the comments from the latest episode that he is no longer doing the podcast, and I kind of wish they dropped a link to this so I could see where he said it, but they just said that he announced it on his Instagram that he had canceled the podcast, so we won't be getting more episodes of that podcast. But that was another podcast that I was investing my time into when it first started. All right, so now those are all of the YouTube podcasters that I am aware of that I watch regularly. And knowing that the Full House Rewind podcast is no longer making episodes, and the City of Soundsville podcast is in limbo right now because we don't know when season two is going to come out, because Shadow Streak is either very busy or he's just busy cooking up new videos for his channel. That's why his videos takes an extremely long time to come out. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video. If you are familiar with these YouTuber podcasters, or if you have a favorite podcast you would like to talk about, do let me know in the comments below. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with more videos.